Adrian Maben wanted to make the perfect concert film with Pink Floyd, but the first 2 times he tried to approach the band with ideas, they weren't interested.
I had this idea at the time that we should do a film which would be kind of a marriage of art and the Pink Floyd. Now, in retrospect, I think that was an embarrassingly bad idea, and I think it would have been terrible had we done it. But David Gilmour was very kind, and he said, yes, how interesting, we'll think about it. And then we each went our own way.
He lost his passport while on vacation in Italy. He returned to where he ate lunch earlier that day to find it, at the Pompeii Amphitheater. At that moment, the perfect idea hit him like a brick.
So I went back alone into the amphitheater. I thought, this is it. This is the place where the Pink Floyd have got to be, because Pompeii has a lot going for it. It has death, it has sex, and it has something that's still living there. Pink Floyd in that amphitheater could bring the whole thing back to life.
Meanwhile, Pink Floyd is finishing up their album Metal. The band sees it as a good way to promote their release, and they like Maben's original approach.
The big thing not to do was to film a group and the audience reaction. I thought that after a while, well, this gets boring because it's always the same thing. The main idea of the film was to do a sort of anti-Woodstock film where there would be nobody present, and the music and the silence and the empty amphitheater would mean as much, if not more, than a million crowd.
Pink Floyd has spent the last 5 years developing their music. Nick Mason, drummer and self-appointed Pink Floyd historian, remarks that Metal was where they were really starting to capture the sound that they were looking for. Hence, it was a perfect time to film this type of concert. But there were a few issues setting up everything for this concert for no one.
In those days, the Pink Floyd had a lot of equipment, a lot of gear, a vast amount in fact, and so it all had to be loaded up onto huge Avis trucks. And they just drove down from London to Pompeii. It probably took about 3 or 4 days to get there. When we started to unload the material and get everything rigged up before they arrived, the electricity wouldn't work. Didn't have the power, the necessary power. Nobody thought about this problem. And when the Floyd arrived on an airplane direct from London, the electricity still wasn't working. Then for 2 days we tried to get it to work. In the end, managed to get a cable that went from the amphitheater to, I think, the town hall in Pompeii, which is quite a distance.
Once Maben actually started filming Pink Floyd though, it went off without a hitch. Because of the previous mentioned issues though, there wasn't enough time to shoot in Pompeii, so the rest of the filming had to be done in Paris. To hide this location change, these songs are done in front of a green screen equivalent that Maben views as a grave error in retrospect.
Now, in retrospect, I think that probably the Transflex was the feeblest element in the whole film. It was a bad idea, and after a few projections with the Floyd, they said, we don't like this very much, but it was too late, we had to keep it. If the film could be done again, then I would have not done that at all.
Those that like Pink Floyd liked this film, and those that didn't like the band hated it. But Maben still wasn't happy with the final result. He thought that something was missing. It's 1972. Maben asks Roger Waters while they were fly fishing if he can film the band in the studio as they work on their next album. Maben is told that as long as he doesn't get in the way, sure. But what album was the band working on?
Dark Side of Dark Side.
Dark Side of Dark Side.
Dark Side of the Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon. Dark Side of the Moon.
Would it be a good idea if we could do some filming for Pink Floyd live at Pompeii in a recording studio? You don't see how they make these sounds. You don't see how creatively they make them. The Pink Floyd were starting to record Dark Side of the Moon. Could have been something else, and I think it was extremely lucky and fortunate that it was Dark Side of the Moon. Part of the film is being at the right place at the right time.
The additions to the second version of this film show a band at work, something that Maben felt wasn't fully explored in the original piece. This new film is slated for a theatrical release, but because of rights distribution and non-compete clauses, the film gets struck down before it's able to gain as much popularity as the band had hoped. Pink Floyd shrugs it off, as they soon release one of the most popular albums of all time. Although Adrian Maben originally might have thought that his film was a wash after this subpar film release, he was wrong. Through at-home releases on VHS, Live at Pompeii grows and grows and grows in popularity. But Maben still feels like the film isn't perfect. Maben thinks he needs more footage of interviews that he had with the band, ones that humanize the band, like Nick Mason struggling to order an apple pie. With these additional scenes, he creates a third version of the film, a never-before-seen footage version. After this, Maben smiles, leans back, and says, now the film's perfect. Just kidding. In the early 2000s, Maben released a fourth version of the film, a director's cut, where he adds CGI space footage to illustrate the exploratory power of Pink Floyd and their music. Why so many releases?
I'm always disappointed about what I do. I always think it could have been better. I always think that maybe I shouldn't have done it in the first place. I always anguish about the things that went wrong. In a way, I suppose I'm still making the same film. I mean, because you still want to correct what you think are faults.
The reality about perfection is that it doesn't exist. And every time an artist thinks that they get there, they often reevaluate their art as time passes. And what's even worse is when they make changes, they get mixed results.
This might not be the case when somebody else watches it, because what you think are defects and faults, somebody else might think as being qualities.
Even though perfection is impossible, it won't stop Mabon.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm always unhappy about the result. I always think there are things that I should have done which I did not do. I'm very frustrated always.
Even if perfection is impossible, some artists will never stop themselves from trying to achieve it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about Live at Pompeii. What versions you've seen before, and which ones you prefer? Do any match up to your level of perfection? I'm Bill Cooper, and as always, I love you all.